I'm Sam and welcome back to another episode of Vinyl Bites, where I will take a random record from my collection and talk about it in a bite-sized video. Today we're talking about Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Oh god. I feel like this is a real cliche. I feel really self-conscious talking about this album. Everyone's talked about this album. Everyone and their dog's got a copy of this album. At the end of the day, I've got it in my collection, so I'll talk about it. Is this my favourite Beatles record? No, it's not. However, every time I put it on, I just always think to myself, yeah, this is really bloody good. Now, when you listen to it, it's very clear why this can be considered the greatest album of all time. For an album that's over 50 years old, it still sounds incredibly cutting edge. Obviously a combination of where the band was at artistically in their journey, the different drugs that they were taking, allowed them to create one of the most surreal and grand musical expressions. I think what's really important about this record is that you can really tell that there is a great amount of ambition behind it. It is very much so a response to the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. Pet Sounds being an album which was a response to Rubber Soul. If it weren't for these two creative forces competing with one another, we might not have some of the groundbreaking moments in music that we have today. I'll just show you the record for a little bit. Now this is a stereo pressing of the album. I understand that the mono remasters are considered to be superior. There's the back. I've always noticed there's this little typing error for the lyrics for A Little Help From My Friends. It just says the title, A Little Help From My Friends, and then it says A Little Help From My Friends again. But that's not the opening line of the song, so it's just there twice for no reason, other than the fact that it's a mistake. So we've got a little booklet here. Got some paper cutouts, which I'll obviously never cut out. Just a spare paper inner sleeve. Just on the black wax. I think if anyone's wanting to get into the Beatles, despite the fact that this is quoted as the greatest album of all time, it's probably not a good place to start. I wouldn't want to start any later than Rubber Soul. Reason being is listening to this upon first listen could be a bit weird. The album opens up with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, where the Beatles are this pretend band. It's probably the most fun opener of a Beatles album. You hear this sort of canned live audience just screaming and cheering out for them. Then leads them to introducing Billy Shears, Ringo Starr's persona, who sings A Little Help From My Friends, such a great track. Then things get super psychedelic with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Everyone's heard that song, so there's no point in me talking about it. After that, we've got Getting Better, which is a classic Paul McCartney rocker. Obviously the Beatles version is the best, but for whatever reason this song just really reminds me of the Smash Mouth version from Cat in the Hat. It's a film that I grew up with, so I just can't help but think of them cleaning up the house to that song. One of my favourite tracks on this album is She's Leaving Home. Just a really amazing piece of Baroque pop. The harmonising on that track just makes my mouth water. Then for the opening of side B, we have Within Without You, which is the George Harrison drug song. Now, I've never taken acid before, but I'm sure that if I were to take acid, it would feel something a lot like the way that this song sounds. The closer of this album, A Day in a Life, has what I would actually feel very comfortable calling the greatest crescendo in music ever. The way all of the instruments just rush together to make this big, amazing moment, it feels like a musical orgasm. This is a really amazing album. Every time I listen to it, I think it's just brilliant. I can't call it my favourite Beatles album though, because stylistically it is very all over the place. But there's really not a bad track on this album. And I think if it weren't for this album, we would not have a lot of the sounds and genres that we have today. A very, very, very important record, and of course, I've got to own it. Everyone owns it though. The Beatles are an incredibly important band to me. They're really the band that I grew up listening to. So for me, I can't really score any of their albums out of 10 because in my mind, they're all 10 out of 10. But I will say again, it is a very, very important record for music. And that's all I want to say about this album. Now today is the 29th of March 2020. The world is currently in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, and at this time there are a lot of record stores out there that are closing their doors. So financially they're going to be in a lot of trouble. A lot of them, however, are still operating online. So if you want to treat yourself, go and find the website of your local record store and go and buy a record from them. This is a very uncertain time in the vinyl community, so the best thing that we can do is just to continue to support our record stores. So if there's a handful of record stores that you go and visit, go and buy an album or two from them online, because they really need our help to survive. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.